Welcome to the Purveyor Zone. My name is Ron Melendi, certified master tobacconist, cigar connoisseur, and purveyor of fine cigars and smoking accessories. Today is October 9th, 2019, so sit back, pour yourself a libation, light up your favorite cigar, relax, and prepare to experience life's earthly pleasures from around the world with the Cigar Purveyor. Hello, everyone. This is episode 4. And I'm here with a couple of special guests here on my podcast. I'm here with the one, the only, Hall of Famer, Manuel Quesada. Welcome to the podcast, Manuel.
Thank you, Ron, for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm also joined by AJ Martinez, General Manager of Fume Cigars here in Fairfield, New Jersey. How you doing, AJ?
Doing great.
Good. Thank you guys for being on the show. And, we're going to talk about some cigars, specifically Quesada cigars. We're not going to talk about anything else. I have to say, you make some great cigars, and we're enjoying them right now. I think we're smoking different ones. So, Manuel, tell us a little bit about your cigars and how you got started in the business.
Well, I'm the fourth generation of the family in tobacco. In Cuba, we were not cigar makers. We were cigar brokers, tobacco brokers, leaf brokers. After we left Cuba in 1960, we went to Dominican Republic, continued the business of brokerage in Dominican Republic, and in 1974, the family decided to start a cigar factory, and in the family raffle, I got the winning ticket. So I was sent to the free zones, industrial free zones in Santiago, with 4 bales of tobacco, $100, empty building, and 3 cigar makers. And that's where we started back in June of 1974. Been there since.
And here we are today.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
45 years later.
Wow, that's just incredible. So on your journey from 1974 today, what sort of things have you found out along the way in terms of, how you improved the product from back then to today, your blending techniques? What have you learned along this journey that you may want to share?
Well, remember, the journey starts in the farms, so we've improved our agricultural practices over the years. New hybrids have come into play. In the fermentation process, we have found that higher temperatures are not the thing to do anymore, so we've lowered the temperature in fermentation. And it really was a good move because the tobacco does not ferment violently. The oils are preserved, and the leaf appreciates a softer heat over a longer period of time. But
Right.
It worked out for the better of the tobacco that we're using in the blends today.
Right, so that sort of process where you did the fermentation in the beginning, you were kind of learning along the way. And at what point did you feel like, maybe we should try something different in terms of lowering the fermentation?
No,
the temperature.
The European countries found out that at higher temperatures, certain things develop that are not convenient health-wise, and at lower temperatures, these things do not occur. So we lowered from anywhere from 140 degrees Fahrenheit down to 120. 120 now we keep the top of the heat in the fermentation process.
Right. So that 20 degrees makes all the difference.
Makes a lot of difference, yes.
A lot of difference. So that's a trial and error type.
And one of the big technological leaps that we did in fermentation was, instead of using a stick that went all the way to the center of the bulk, and we'd pull the stick out, feel it with our hands, smell it, we went to thermometers. That was a huge technological leap. So now we put a thermometer in the center of the bulk, and we find out the temperature of the bulk without having to use our hands and a stick. So that was a huge technological leap.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So the I don't know if if our listeners and or viewers know, but the fermentation process, you build the pilon, right? And you take the temperature, and then you build these things, I guess, and then you get the temperature to a certain point, 120 degrees.
And you have to turn it.
And then you got to turn it.
And continue turning until the tobacco has reached a point where you feel it's right for your cigars.
Right. Awesome. So, going back to 1974, what was your the first brand that you started working on, and is that brand still in existence today?
Well, we opened the factory making Fonseca cigars.
Okay.
And we're still making Fonseca cigars today.
And they're a great cigar, and they've come a long way, and they've sold probably millions of sticks throughout the years, I'm sure.
Well, yes, thankfully we have. We have kept the continuity of the brand, blend-wise and construction-wise, over the years, and it's still a product that maintains its high level of quality and satisfaction.
Right, awesome. So now, we can't really have cigars sold without having a place to sell them. So here we have a young gentleman, AJ, at Fume. So tell us a little bit about how you got started in the business, and what was your journey like?
Well, my pops always smoked cigars since that was my first memories. You know, he was a North cop, and his one thing was smoking at the end of the day. He just got started in the industry 6-7 months ago, just about, and I've been in the industry for 5 now. I started at JR's as soon as I turned 18, and I could legally sell cigars. And I was there for about 2, and I got an offer from Ralph and Frank up at Fume Montclair, and that was that. I was working in a, forgive the term, but a real cigar store, and not, a cigar warehouse anymore.
Right. And there are definitely, I guess, some differences between working at the Home Depot of cigars versus,
the mom and pop hardware store. Yeah.
Now, AJ, when you started smoking, I'm pretty sure you couldn't afford buying cigars. Were you borrowing from your father?
Borrowing is one word, yes. But I don't think I would be at the level I'm at today without, his experience, the experience of the people I've worked with. Felix at JR's, he taught me a lot. Very knowledgeable man. But the one thing I soak up knowledge about tobacco like nothing else. This is the one thing that sticks up here. So
awesome.
It's what I love to do.
Right. And you've been doing it for a few years now.
Yeah, 5 years now, yeah.
For 5 years now. So tell us a little bit about your first experience. Like, how were you introduced to cigars? Something you took a cigar from your dad, or did you?
Yep. It was a Hoy de Nicaragua, actually. Top of the strength level.
Okay. Now we're talking from the island 90 miles to the south?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty strong.
The
Cuban?
No, not Cuban.
Oh,
Hoy
not
de
the
Nicaragua.
Oh, I'm sorry. Or the Nicaraguan.
Yeah.
I got. Okay, got it.
So, I smoked that thing through and through. It was.
That's a strong.
Right that in there.
Strong cigar.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. It didn't knock me on my ass or anything like most people's first cigar story, but it was.
Yeah.
That was it. I was a cigar smoker.
That's
at
it.
that point.
You smoked a cigar, you enjoyed it, and then you never looked back.
Exactly.
All right.
That's what I've wanted to do since that cigar. Yep.
Awesome. Now getting back to Manuel, the first cigar I guess that you mentioned before, Fonseca. Now that's a famous Cuban brand.
Yes, it is.
And how did that come about in terms of your company acquiring the name and being able to, I don't know if you licensed it or you somehow registered it here. How did that come about? Why did you pick that?
Well, a Cuban family that was living in Miami bought the rights to the brand from the legal owners that had left Cuba back in 1963, I believe. The purchase took place. And we dealt with this family for many years. In 1995, we separated, and our company kept the name Fonseca. So we became the owners of Fonseca, the brand. And this Cuban family had other brands, and they kept their brands, and they went their own way.
Right.
And right now, we own Fonseca only in the United States because it's still a Cuban brand sold in the rest of the world.
Right.
So I cannot leave the United States and sell Fonseca, but Cuba cannot come into the U.S. and sell Fonseca because we own the rights here.
So with that being said, you will not find Fonseca made by Quesada in Europe.
No, sir. Anywhere else but the U.S.
Just the U.S. market.
Just the United States.
Just the United States. Very, very interesting. Great. So, AJ, you're now in a new shop.
3 days. Yep. Third day of business.
3 days here in Fairfield, New Jersey. It's pretty much a freestanding shop.
Yep.
Right on Route 46. I guess is this the eastbound?
Westbound.
Westbound lane.
Yep.
So it's on the westbound side on Route 46 in Fairfield, New Jersey. So tell us a little bit about what came about as to why you decided to open a shop here in Fairfield.
Well, most things in Fume happen through the members there, you know.
Okay.
It's a little community. Someone needs a window change, they go to the window guy. You know, we need a podiatrist. I just got over gout. One of the members in the lounge. You know, we have a little bit of everything there.
Right.
One of the guys knows the owner of the building. The shop that was here went out of business,
Okay.
and the members said, "Hey, there's a shop open. You know, I know you guys have been looking to expand," and that was that. You know, they came in.
And here you are.
Yep.
And here, 3 days in. And a beautiful lounge, by the way. Tell us a little bit about what sort of experience you're going to be offering here. What is your idea of the type of shop that you want this Fume on Route 46 to be?
Home away from home is the easiest way to put it. You know, you
Fair
come
enough.
in, you want a bottle with you, you bring one in, you sit down, you relax, you're with family. You have a good time, you get away from life for a little bit. And
AJ, if I may ask, because I am not in the retail business, I deal with retailers all the time, but I'm not actually in the front lines like you are. But I have this idea on my head that the tobacconists, the cigar shops, have become the new barber shops of the world.
yes, without a doubt. Oh, yeah.
And the way you describe Fume in Montclair, where all kinds of ways of life come together,
Yep.
and it becomes a community.
It's the only place that happens nowadays.
Am I right in thinking that?
110%.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's interesting because I have this belief, and hopefully you guys will agree, that the leaf or the cigar or whatever you want to call it, it's the great equalizer, right? It kind of brings people together.
Greatest. Yep.
There you go, the greatest equalizer. It doesn't matter if you are the CEO of a major corporation or you bust tables at the local diner. This is what we have in common, the cigar.
Yeah.
And it kind of, unlike other social activities, like if you go into a bar to have a drink, I have never personally seen the type of interaction that you will get from a fine tobacconist. And I'm assuming that that's pretty much what you're witnessing
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
most part.
On that vein, my father, he was down in Florida about a year and a half ago. He goes to a cigar bar, sits down, has a drink, has a conversation with an older gentleman next to him. And on the way out, you know, after they were talking over an entire cigar, the guy shakes his hand and goes, "Oh, by the way, my name is Barry Disney, the CEO of Disney." You know, a North cop sitting next
Yeah.
to the CEO of Disney.
Yeah, so, yeah, you have that.
It's the only place it happens.
Two different worlds that otherwise those two would probably not have met.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, when you enter the military service, the equalizer is they shave your head. In a cigar shop, the equalizer happens to be a cigar.
Yep.
Fair enough. And so very true. I mean, in my past life, I was in the retail side of things, and I saw the same thing playing out all the time. And now that I'm on the road a lot, I see it playing out in lounge after lounge after lounge. I mean, it's pretty much that way. People get together, they sit down, all of a sudden it's like, hey, what are you smoking there? Oh, I'm smoking a Quesada cigar. I'm smoking the 1974, or the Oktoberfest, or Fonseca, or Casa Magna. And then they'll be like, oh, I'm smoking this, and conversation will start, and it just goes on from there.
They become family.
That's it. And I see it all the time, and I think that this is one thing that's so important to these businesses, is bringing these people together, common ground, and it doesn't matter what your political beliefs are, it doesn't matter what your religion is, it doesn't matter what you do in life in terms of your career. We're all, like you said, family.
Mm-hmm.
And, we get together and a lot of times we become friends. And sometimes, you might be a contractor and I may need something done at my house or something. And a lot of business deals, I think, go down too.
Hey, everything in here was done by contractors that go to Fume.
There you go.
Walls painted, flooring done, everything. Fume members. Yep.
Case in point. Absolutely. So let me get back to you, Manuel. How do you approach the blending process? How do you, you sit down, you're smoking a cigar one night or something, and you decide, I have an idea for another project. What is some of the thinking that you do to go from in your head to, having a cigar that you're smoking?
Well, blending you can approach from different angles. Sometimes you have a specific project. There's a new cigar that I want to come out with, and I want it to be middle strength, a lot of flavor. So you have a goal, and then you start looking for the tobaccos in the different countries that we buy tobacco from that will fit that particular project and that particular profile of taste. Other times, we have new crops coming in every year, and hybrids are coming in from different countries, from Dominican, from Nicaragua, Ecuador, and you start trying new things, and you go, hold on, this is a good mix. We should look at this and try to market this. So it depends which way you're going, how you start a blend.
Right. And do you have I guess at the factory, do you have a tasting panel, like people who will try it or be involved in that process as well?
Well, many years ago, I was the only one doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now with the advent of young ones, the group has expanded a little bit, so there's maybe 4 of us in the factory that join up to create new blends and smoke. And our decision is final. We don't really go out and test anything.
Right.
We just think that we have a product that's is
worthy.
smokable, is worthy, and we put it out, and the market will tell us if we're right or wrong.
Right. That makes sense. And I would guess that most of the time you're probably right, because your brands have stood the test of time.
They have stayed in the market, and they continue. So sometimes we, as a saying goes, blind squirrels do find acorns every once in a while.
That is true. True. Now, how do you handle, let's say that you came out with a blend, and let's say that the cigar's a hit, everything's going well, but now you're running low on that type of tobacco, and you know that in 1 year's time, you're going to run out of a key tobacco that is part of that blend. How do you decide, do you discontinue it? Do you change it to the point where you're using a different tobacco, but you're still trying to maintain the consistency? Tell us a little bit about that process.
If I tell you how that's done, I have to kill you.
Okay, let's move on to the next question.
No, the first answer to that question is you need to have a library of crops. You have to have inventory.
Yeah.
If you know that a crop you're using in this particular blend is going to run out, let's say next summer, you have to find in your library of crops a crop that is similar to the one that's going to run out, and this is called the overlap. and you use that. It could be a newer crop or an older crop, depends on what you're substituting. And then you have to start introducing the new tobacco. And now overlap has two dimensions, quantity and time. How much quantity are you going to start to introduce into the blend, and over how long a period, so the smoker doesn't notice the change of tobaccos. It'll be the same farm, the same seed. It'll be a Cuban seed, perhaps.
Right.
But it'll be a specific variety. And what you do is you start adding the new tobaccos into the blend at a very slow pace over a long period of time. So the differences are so minute when the new tobacco stays in the blend that they're practically not perceptible to the smokers. But that has to be done very carefully, and that has to be done with a little flying by the seat of your pants. We decide this is how much we're going to start to introduce over this period of time. Right. By the time that crop is over, the new crop is taken over the blend, and everything is back to normal.
Is back to normal.
Now, when you see changes like a cigar, you see the blend in a release change, and like from another company, what mistakes have they made that causes that?
Well, sometimes you don't have the necessary inventory, and you have to make do with whatever is available. And you do the overlap, but perhaps the crop that you're bringing in is not similar to the crop that's going out. Mm-hmm. And that may cause abrupt changes in the perception of the palate of the smoker. And this is what you try to avoid by overlapping properly. The changes are so minute that they cannot be perceived. And you try very hard to do that, because contrary to wine, where every year is a new crop or a new vintage, it is expected of us to maintain a continuity over time. So
I can't imagine how difficult that is for you at times.
That continuity needs a slow and measured way of changing the elements of the blend. Mm-hmm. And of course, you cannot substitute a Cuban seed from Dominican Republic with a tobacco from another country, because that's going to change it radically. You have to have whatever tobacco you're substituting from the same place, same farm, same variety. That way you can maintain the continuity.
Mm-hmm. Right, so you couldn't, if you're using, let's say that you're using a
Piloto Cubano from Dominican Republic.
You can't go and get something from Nicaragua.
Or even San Vicente, which is another
Right.
Cuban seed out of Dominican.
Even if it's the same seed planted in a different country, you're going to get different results.
But of course.
Yeah.
Because every country imparts different characteristics to the tobaccos because of the soil, the climate conditions, agricultural practices, everything incides in what the taste of that particular country is going to be.
That's really a very interesting thing that I think that a lot of our customers, or people who smoke cigars, connoisseurs, and even people who smoke, once in a while, they don't realize that. A cigar is not a widget. It's not something that, you turn on the assembly line and, you say, okay, I need 10,000 Oktoberfest or whatever, and out they come, and that's the end of it. It's a passion. It is a science in a way, but it's also, there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of variables involved,
In the square meter where the cigar maker is working, there's a lot of variables that come into play that have to be either excluded or accepted.
Right.
If the baseball team in Santiago won the tournament, we cannot allow the joy and jubilation to come into where the cigar is being made.
Right.
Let's celebrate after we make the cigar. The cigar needs certain things that need to be done for it to work properly.
Right. And you have the experience and the time to, all your experimentations in the past, all your successes, all your failures, everything that leads up to today. It's a journey, it's a learning process, and you're constantly tweaking and refining this process, I would imagine.
As my competitors and colleagues are doing as well.
Yeah.
Today, in my opinion, is the best time to be a cigar smoker ever in the
Agreed.
history of cigars.
Agreed.
Without a doubt.
The amount of great cigars out in the market is mind-boggling.
Yeah, yeah. It's and speaking about that, I want to turn the question over to AJ. There are a lot of brands out there. Some may say too many. And how have you found this flood of product, most of which are really good? How do you determine what gets brought into Fume? You know, I mean, you can't carry everything.
Yes, we have to be very selective at times. It's any small store has to be extremely selective. We'd like to bring in everything, you know, give everything a shot, but unless we know something is going to be what our customers want, it's very rough. We know our basic customers' taste profile, our regulars, you know, all that. And then we have some stuff that's, you know, out of their regular. That would be the, you know, oddball walking in off the street that wants a cigar, you know, that's not what our members usually smoke.
Right.
So we have a wide range of taste profiles, but when something new comes in, Ralph has it first. Usually he's the one that's there most of the time when, you know, a vendor drops something off or, you know, he'll have it, he'll give it to me and Rod, and, you know, he usually makes the final decision. Sometimes he won't even have to ask us, you know, it's something we know is going to move well, like Oktoberfest we get every year. That's, you know, we know that's going to move. But it really depends on what our regular customers smoke regularly, you know.
Right. So you're tasting the cigars, but you're also putting your customers' taste profiles into the mix as well, because you want to make sure that they're getting the cigar.
The customer's taste profile comes before ours.
Right.
We might all hate the cigar, but know our customers would like it, so we'll bring it in. You know, we have to be completely unbiased when smoking the cigars.
But AJ, again, not being a retailer, but having been in the industry for a while, we have found that the country is so big, and cigar smokers are so unique. Yes, each individual cigar smoker is different from the next. Some things will work at Fume and not at Fume 46.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yes.
Because the profile of your customers is slightly different than the profiles of Fume.
What's great actually is the store my father's managing, Main Cigars in Woodbridge. His customer's taste profile actually hits everything that doesn't sell at Fume. And everything that doesn't sell there sells very well at Fume.
Which proves a point that cigar smokers, even within a city or a county, are different.
Yeah. So, but what happens there? We swap boxes in and out of inventories, and, you know, we can compensate for mistakes that we've made and mistakes he's made, and, you know, it works out.
That adds to the enjoyment and the excitement of the industry.
Yes.
And the knowledge that you learn things as you move along.
Yeah. You can learn 100 new things a day, and you wouldn't know everything about tobacco by the time you died.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I've been at it for 60 years, and I'm still learning.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's a journey. I think we're all constantly learning. As a matter of fact, if, you know, the day that you stop learning, then what do you have, you know? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's something that, you know, it was funny. We visited your dad's shop earlier today, and I saw a product that I never saw before. There was this white powder in each ashtray.
That stuff's great. Use it at home.
Yeah, it's the whiff out, I believe it's called. Yeah. So I asked him, and he gave me a sample pack to try, and I'm definitely going to try it. But I mean, I've been in the business about 30 years. I never saw that product. I never heard about that product.
It's fairly new. I think it's been on the market like 2 years, 3 years. Right. Not that long. Yeah.
But it's the only shop I've actually seen it in.
Yeah.
But don't feel bad, Ron. I had never seen it either. So
I'm just, you know, it was amazing. I was just like, okay, well, here's something
There's a secret a lot of people don't know how to get the, you know, the stale smell of a cigar away. Just light up a fresh one.
There you go. And don't relight a cigar that's been sitting. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
That's definitely a given. So let me get back to Manuel Quesada. Your current project, your current cigar, I believe, is the 1974.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about that brand, that line, and how it came about? And
It was decided to celebrate the year we started the factory, 1974. So it's called the Quesada 1974. It's a cigar that has a Cameroon wrapper from Ecuador, a binder from Dominican Republic, Cuban seed, and a blend of Cuban seeds from both Dominican and Nicaragua. It's a little more intense in the palate.
Right.
Has a little more intensity, so the flavors are more present in the palate. But it's a very enjoyable smoke.
And very smooth.
And well, I'm not into things that fight with me. The fight
Yes.
I go to work.
Yeah, you don't want to fight your cigar for sure.
A cigar has to be a companion, has to be a friend, because we use cigars for celebrations, for camaraderie, for enjoyment. We don't need things that attack you or are not pleasant.
Yeah.
So, I'm into smooth intensity a little. Yes, you have to have a little intensity because the palate needs to know you're smoking a cigar.
Right.
And all the regions in your palate went to play, so the smoke has to give everyone a chance to enjoy.
Right.
So, yes, the 74 is a little intense, but again, smooth, thanks AJ. And a cigar that I feel that can appeal to many smokers of different levels of enjoyment.
Right, and it's definitely a great cigar. And this next question I'm going to ask it can go to both of you, so you guys can answer it as you see. When either a customer that comes into Fume or someone that you're talking with, when you hear the term, I'm looking for a mild cigar, I'm looking for a medium cigar, I'm looking for a strong cigar, and you guys might have the same answer, and you might have a different answer to this question, but what does that mean to you, and how do you handle that question? Because I have my own opinion, and I'll let you know after you guys answer it. I'm just curious on how you guys. So AJ.
I find that 95% of people who say that aren't talking about the body of the cigar and more of the nicotine strength of the cigar. So first thing I do is try and get a handle on their taste profile. If they're a smoker, I ask them what they normally smoke, where they branch out normally. If they don't smoke a lot, I ask them what they drink. And you'd be surprised how many people that don't smoke know their taste profile already for a cigar by what they drink.
Right.
Cognac drinker, you want something high end, Padron will do you. You want something lower end, you get a New World. There's a lot of easy ways to get around that, but most people, when they say that, they're not necessarily describing the body of the cigar that they want.
Right.
But that's a typical misconception a lot of the time.
Right.
But also, I find, AJ, correct me if I'm wrong, that a cigar smoker will have different levels of intensity depending on what he's doing. On a Sunday morning while he's reading the paper and having coffee and patting his dog, he doesn't want something very intense because that interferes with what he's doing.
Depends who it is.
But if he's watching football with friends, he wants something that
Keeps
at the
him
level of
entertained,
excitement that's going on. So even the cigar smoker will move along the three levels that you mentioned, Ron, in his smoking career. That he spends most of the time at a certain level, yes, agreed, but also he will vary it depending on the activity that he's enjoying at the moment.
Right. I have an interesting, over the years, I would ask a customer, because I was in retail for about 20 of those years, and I would ask a customer, the typical questions, what do you like to smoke, what have you smoked, and they'll be like, oh, I'm looking for a mild cigar, I'm looking for a medium or a strong cigar. And what I found is that a lot of customers that say that they're looking for a strong cigar are looking for pepper. They're looking for spice, a lot of spice, and those that say that they want milder cigar,
Just want
they're
smooth.
looking for less spice. But here's the kicker, and here's the part that it's you can have a mild cigar that's full of flavor. So people are not objecting, I believe, to a cigar that's mild with a lot of flavor. The same token, if they're saying that they're looking for a strong cigar, they want something that is more spicy, more intense. So I kind of gauge it where it's okay, if you're looking for a cigar that's medium, okay, you want a little bit of spice in there, but you definitely want a good amount of flavor, and you want those components to balance. And I think a great cigar, and I think the Quesada cigars have hit this right on the head, is a cigar that is balanced, a cigar that has the nuances. It has strength if that's what you're looking for, and you get a cigar that has that strength profile. But if you're not looking for something that's too strong, you're still getting less intensity, less spice, but you're still getting the flavor and the nuances of the cigars. And I think that those cigar makers or those manufacturers that hit that on the head, basically, those are the cigars that I enjoy, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it as well. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that's the way I look at it.
If the dominant taste of the cigar is spice or pepper, you lose the rest of the nuances that may come into play.
Exactly.
As you lower that level of spiciness or peppery, other elements come into play in the palate, and therefore it broadens the spectrum of possibilities of the blend, giving you those nuances that are enjoyable.
Right. And I think that's the key. I think anything that is too dominant or overpowering, you're going to have an unbalanced cigar.
Well, it's a narrower scope, yes.
Yeah. But again, there are customers out there, and I'm sure AJ can verify this. For whatever reason, they want the strongest peppery spice bomb known to man.
Yes.
Well, that's why we make all kinds of different cigars, because there's all kinds of different smokers.
Right. But some of these smokers, and I don't know if you, they equate that with quality.
Yes.
There's some customers out there that'll say the stronger, more peppery cigar, that's a high quality cigar. That cigar is well made.
Yes. I have one customer at Fume that if it doesn't have pepper that would usually, have somebody tearing up, it's not good enough for him. There's customers like that, yeah, but to each their own, it's whatever you enjoy smoking.
Right. So, let me see. So getting back to Manuel, this could probably change, but what is your favorite Quesada cigar?
Around, they're all my children, so I like them all.
Fair enough.
There's always a favorite child, don't lie.
Yeah, but you don't go around broadcasting that.
That's
because
true.
Then the other children get on your case.
Yep.
No, listen, I make cigars for many markets and for many tastes. Some of them are not particularly in my map of preferences, but I make them anyway because, as AJ said, even if he doesn't like it, his customers do. So you have to have it. And we have to make them even though we may not agree with them or they may not be our favorites. And palates are not a stable environment. Palates evolve, and palates change even from day to day or during a day.
Mm-hmm. And also what you eat.
Of course.
Or drink.
And the way your body feels that day.
Your mood,
the stress level, many things come into play. So your favorite today may be A, but tomorrow it may be B. And A's still a go-to, but today is B because that's what my body wants.
That's what you want.
So even though I smoke a lot of cigars, and I do have go-tos, I do change back and forth from different children every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. How about you, AJ? What is your favorite Quesada cigar?
The Oktoberfest. I've gotten a box of the Brewhouse every year since the first release.
And with the Oktoberfest, is there a specific year that you enjoy, or you enjoy them pretty much?
My palate wasn't as refined as it is now. I would have to say the 16, after a year in the humidor that I had it in there. When they came out, they were wonderful. I
Okay.
always bought the box and did not open it until the next release came, and then I'd smoke them. The 16 was probably my favorite out of the bunch, but my palate wasn't as refined in the beginning of the releases.
But in your searches at Fume before you came to 46, you found the 14s.
Yes.
And you were kind enough to allow me to smoke one with you today.
Yes.
And we agreed that the 14 today is smoking really, really well.
Beautifully.
Yeah.
Beautifully. They aged like
Yeah.
fine wine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, speaking about aging, and this is a question that I think Manuel can answer. What is your view on aging cigars? Because not all cigars age the same or age well, even.
Well, again, a cigar has a life, and it dies eventually because that's just the way it is. And the primings, the way we take the leaf off the plant, has a lot to do with it. The lower primings don't have the power to withstand a lot of time. The higher primings, because they're thicker and oilier leaves, can withstand. So a blend that's made with lower primings does not stand the test of time very well.
Now, just to interrupt you for a second, we all know what priming means, but for those people that are listening to this or just getting into cigars, can you explain what that actually means?
Well, priming is the way we cut the leaves from the plant.
Okay.
And usually takes a week or 2 weeks before we go from one priming to the next.
Right.
But the lower leaves, we start at the bottom of the plant and move our way up. And the primings determine the level of intensity that the leaves are going to have. That's where we get the seco, the viso, and the ligero.
Right. And
That
those
are
are the
used for
different.
blending.
And those are the different
The
levels.
seco are the lower priming, the visos are the middle high, and the ligeros are the higher.
Right.
So a blend that's made with visos and ligeros and a splash of secos will stand the test of time longer than a blend that's made with secos and a little viso in there.
Right. Right. So
Because
you're not taking all the leaves off in one shot.
No,
Basically.
only in a couple of places, the broadleaf in lower Massachusetts and Connecticut, they stalk the whole plant.
Mm-hmm.
So they cut the plant from the field and hang the whole plant in the barns. And then they strip it after the tobacco has spent a winter in the barn. But that's only done in very few places. Most of us do the priming.
Right. And
Because
that's
that gives us the different...
you have more control. You can. Yeah.
We know we do not ferment visos and secos together, or secos and ligeros together, or visos and ligeros. No, we have to do the secos on their own, the visos on their own, and the ligeros on their own, because they need different temperatures, different times, different turns. So we cannot mix the primings, because then you either ruin one or you don't do one right.
Right. Right. Right. So yeah, it's and again, this is what you found throughout your journey.
No, this is what they found
Well-
hundreds of years ago when they started making cigars.
But at some point
Yeah.
it's a trial and error
Yeah.
thing. They figured it out, and we all benefit from that.
Oh,
which is-
indeed.
Which is great. So AJ, other than Quesada, what is one of your favorite cigars?
Well, I try to have a new cigar a day. That's my usual way of doing it. But brand-wise, Black Label is definitely a brand I smoke a lot of. I get around. I'm always smoking.
So you're
something.
experimenting.
Yes. I like new and interesting. That's my biggest requirement in a cigar. That it's not just a cigar.
AJ shares my philosophy. As consumers, we owe it to ourselves to try different things.
Yes.
One is to know new pleasures that we didn't know about. And two, to know places that we don't want to go back to.
Exactly. That's the most important.
Yeah.
There's two things I always say to newer smokers. I always say, you'll never smoke your favorite cigar. And second, always save your bands, because the second worst thing is having a cigar you love and never be able to find it again. The worst thing is having a cigar you hate and smoking it twice.
Yeah, there you go. And I think experimentation is a key. I think that's how people develop their palates. I think that they find out what they like, what they don't like, what their go-tos are. Sometimes they put different cigars into their rotation and try different things. So that is definitely something that I encourage all cigar smokers to do, is not just come in and say, I just smoke X brand, I don't want anything else. That's almost the equivalent of saying I eat steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I don't want anything else.
Yes.
Because to me, after a while, that cigar is not special anymore. If I had a favorite cigar, and that's what I'm smoking, and I'm not trying anything else, how do I know what else that I like?
When I was in grade school, I ate nothing but Cinnamon Toast Crunch for about a year and a half. I can't even smell Cinnamon Toast Crunch anymore. And that's what I equate it to.
So now you stay away from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is why, in our world, is a certain degree of difficulty in maintaining that continuity. Because if you smoke an Oktoberfest today, and you smoke it 6 months from now or a year from now, you are expecting a certain profile from that cigar. And it behooves us to maintain that profile over time. Right. So it reminds you of the one you smoked a week, a day, or a year ago. It may not be exact, because an exact science, this is not.
Right.
But it has to be, it can't be in right field and then behind the catcher. It's got to be in the mound where the little rectangle is that the pitcher starts from. It's got to be right there in that rectangle, and that reminds you of the one you smoked before, and then you say, this is what I was expecting.
Right.
But that is what makes it a little difficult for us to maintain that degree of continuity.
Right. Now, Manuel, do you smoke anyone else's cigars? Do you have a favorite from someone else? And do you ever smoke someone else's cigars and you're like, well, I kind of like this and that about the cigar, and maybe use some of that knowledge to a project that you're going to be doing in the future?
One thing that we learned from the very beginning is you don't copy.
No, not copy.
No, we don't copy. Copying is pointless. I do smoke my colleagues' and competitor cigars occasionally. Usually when they give them to me, I don't buy them. I'll be honest about that. And I've been asked many a time, if I was not a cigar maker, I didn't work in the industry, what would I smoke?
Right.
And my answers have always been, I would smoke a Davidoff from Henke.
Right.
I would smoke Cameroon Panatella Lito makes.
Right.
And today I found another one that I would, and I could afford, because Davidoff I couldn't afford if I wasn't given cigars by Henke. The Psycho 7 from Indiana Ortez in Nicaragua, I smoked one, and I found it to be very agreeable. So if I wasn't a cigar maker, and I was just a regular cigar smoker, I would go to those three today.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what one experience kind of stands out that you experienced in the cigar industry? What one thing maybe was the catalyst, or something that happened in your life that you don't forget, cigar related, of course, that kind of stands out for you?
Well, I have to start with tobacco related first.
That's fair enough.
My father used to take us in Havana to the warehouse at least one Saturday a month. And my brother and I would run around and play while he worked. And the first thing that hit you when you walked into the warehouses in Havana was the smell of tobacco. Mm-hmm. And that smell just enveloped you, and it either hooked you or...
I pushed you far away.
You either loved it or hated it. And we just loved it, and it just kept... When I started in Dominican Republic at 13, working in the warehouses, that smell from tobacco was always present. And once it's in your blood, it's hard to get out.
Right, right.
Cigar related, I found out maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago. When I grew up, we had 3 sodas, 3 cereals, and 3 TV channels. The young generations today have had aisles and aisles of cereals, aisles and aisles of refreshment, soda pops and Cokes and so on, and a lot of TV that broadened their horizons as well. But I found when sitting down and smoking with my daughters, my nieces, my nephews, that their palates had a wider spectrum of recognizing combinations of flavors because they were used to having mango with kiwi and bananas with strawberries and oranges with whatever other fruit. So they had this capacity of recognizing combinations of flavors that my palate was rather limited. It was more narrow. It was a narrower channel. And when I sat down and started blending with them and trying cigars, I had to teach myself to recognize what they were recognizing. And grapes, floral, citrusy. And that was a revelation and a learning experience that I went through 15, 20 years ago.
Right, all the different little notes and different things that you can relate to.
Do you think that's made a big impact on why there's so many different brands and taste profiles out there in this day and age?
Of course, because the smokers today are capable of recognizing combinations of flavors that were not part of the speak of the industry.
Right.
We always were talking, it has to be a round, it has to be smooth, it has to be a tobacco taste, it has to be pleasant to both the nose and the mouth. And now we're talking all kinds of combinations and avenues that were not part of the speak 30, 40 years ago.
Right. And what kind of experience have you had that kind of like got you excited about the cigar industry, AJ? Towards something that happened in your life.
I've had a lot of times where I've introduced a lot of my friends because I was the first one to smoke cigars. I started, very young. Just recently, I sent over a box of cigars to my buddy that's stationed in Somalia.
Okay.
And, that's the only fun he has over there.
Right.
He's sitting in a hut in the middle of the desert. There's no entertainment. So
cigars.
His cigars are rounding him out. He has a month left, and all he's talking about is going out to eat and smoke cigars with me when he gets back.
Wow.
And that is really amazing, bringing in people that don't know the culture, don't know anything about cigars, and then that's all they think about anymore,
Right.
Because they love the experience so much.
Right. And that's the key word, I think, is experience. People, when they smoke cigars, especially in the, whether it's in a shop or you're with buddies, you're out, you're at a picnic, or you're at some place where you can smoke the cigar and you're having conversation and you're just catching up and having a cigar and a drink, and it's something that is great, and a lot of people enjoy it, and I think it's something that more people should do because, in this fast-paced world that we live in, everyone's on their phone, everybody's running around, and no one has time for anybody. And this actually creates time to bring people together.
Yep.
And I think that is very important, especially today.
And very rare today.
And very rare. Agreed.
AJ, I'm very proud that you remember your friends who are serving.
Oh, you gotta.
I served, and my family would send cigars to the post that I was in, and when the cigars came, we had a great time. Because serving, no matter what you serve, where you serve, a certain level of stress always.
Oh, yeah.
Some places more than others, but always a level of stress. And having cigars show up in your post really makes a difference. So thank you.
It's made him very happy, and that makes me happy. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, Manuel, where do you see the cigar industry in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
I have a view that as long as human beings are looking for pleasure, and I think that is a quest that will not end anytime soon. Cigars are part of that quest because cigars go so well with many things: foods, coffees, spirits, company. Even in solitude, cigars are great for bringing pleasure. Nothing better than sitting watching a sunset with a nice glass of something in your hand or music behind you and a cigar in your hand to decompress and find the pleasures that the blend may bring to you. So as long as pleasure is being searched for, I think cigars are going to be a part of that search. We may have to deal with FDA and prohibition and taxation, which are things that are happening even today,
Right.
at a pace that's really fast. I'm not in favor of taxation, but I prefer taxation to prohibition.
Agreed.
We will always find the next quarter or 50 cents to buy a cigar, but if we buy it and can't smoke it, then our search for pleasure dies right there.
Right.
So as long as pleasure is being sought, I think that cigars are going to be part of that search, and they'll be around.
Right. Right. No, I agree. And AJ, what are your thoughts?
I would agree. People are always going to want to smoke cigars.
Right.
If the FDA doesn't, kill the industry in America, which
Right.
I don't
And that's a
think they'll-
topic for another podcast, but
Yeah.
that's another big issue.
That's
But
a whole hours upon hours of conversation.
we could be
there.
here all
Oh,
week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But people always smoke cigars. Even if there's not stores here, people order online. If there's no online stores, people go to stores.
Right.
It's people will smoke cigars. It's pleasurable. People can get away from life.
Right. For just
It'll
that
always
small
be
time.
here.
Yeah.
If-
Agreed.
If it's different in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll have to see what the FDA does. But
Right.
it'll be here.
As
that's
long
for
as
sure.
as long as they're cigars, there'll be people that'll enjoy them.
Yes.
And again, it'll bring people together, and hopefully, like everything else that has happened in the past, things have a way of working themselves out. It may be harder, it may be easier, but at the end of the day, we enjoy cigars, and that's a good thing.
Well, Ron, AJ, even myself, we weren't there during Prohibition back in the 20s.
Right.
Prohibition lasted 10 years, and it was a law.
Yes.
You could not consume alcohol in the United States. What happened? Did people consume alcohol?
Absolutely.
They found ways about,
Yeah.
and the search for pleasure overrode the law that forbade seeking pleasure.
Right. And we see a little bit of that in the industry, of course, with Cuban cigars. I mean, you can't buy them here, but people still seek them out and people still get them, regardless of what the law is. So people are always going to seek what they want,
People always do what they want.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day. But in conclusion, first I want to thank both of you for being on the show. This is really, really great. Manolo Quesada, you've been an influence in my life. I've smoked countless number of cigars from your company, and we used to buy your cigars when I had the store in Manhattan. And again, AJ, thank you for being on this podcast. This is I think this is going to be episode 4, so it's early on. And
Thank you.
I appreciate your participation and your input. In closing, is there any last things either of you would like to say?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having us on your podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
It's our pleasure as well. And the only thing that I have to say is, smokers, continue, please, finding roads to pleasure. Keep experimenting, keep trying, keep learning new things about the products that you enjoy, and may cigars be one of the products that you enjoy forever.
That is correct. And again, I want to thank both of you. You've been listening to the Purveyor Zone. My name is Ron Melendi, and smoke your cigars, have your favorite drink, and keep the camaraderie going, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Guajira Guantanamera. Guantanamera. Yo soy un hombre sincero, Guantanamera. ¿De dónde crece la palma? Guantanamera. Yo soy un hombre sincero, Guantanamera. ¿De dónde crece la palma? Guantanamera. Y antes de morir me quiero echar mis versos del alma. Guantanamera, Guantanamera, Guantanamera.